Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the next exciting episode of the Doctor Who DVD Disambiguation. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Well, today we wrap up our look at the classic series. Yes, this is the end, my friends. This is where we were all left hanging after this season, wondering, would Doctor Who ever come back? The funny thing is, when the BBC cancelled Doctor Who, they basically did so in a very ambiguous way. They never officially said that it was cancelled. No. The 1989 season came and went. We all enjoyed it and waited with bated breath for season 27. 1990 came and went. No new season. 1991 came and went. No new season. And eventually, hope began to wane, and we all got very sad, thinking, I guess that's it. I guess it's all over. It wasn't until 2005 that we actually got the series back in any proper form. Well, there was the movie in 1996, but we'll talk about that next time. Anyway, that's not what this is about. This is about season 26, the last blast for the classic series. Let's take a look today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Well, as we talked about last time, in season 25, the series definitely was getting back on track, big time. They've taken it in some new directions with season 24 that were met with mixed results, and then they fine-tuned things, got rid of the stuff that wasn't working, introduced better stuff that worked much better in season 25, and things were heading in a much better direction. General reaction from fans and critics alike was much more positive, and rightly so. Season 25 overall was a very good season indeed. So, carrying on with season 26, did they continue that trend of excellence? Yes, they absolutely did. Season 26 is fantastic, and I don't think there's a bad story in the bunch, to be perfectly honest. So we started off with the return of Ben Aronovich, who wrote the outstanding Remembrance of the Daleks, with a really cool sci-fi King Arthur story, which also features the return of Brigadier Alastair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart, now retired. So we meet his successor, Brigadier Bambera, but yeah, so we get a last blast with the Brig here with Battlefield. Yeah, this is really cool stuff. Actually, I can't show you the back because I'm still showing you the other cover. Here, I'll show you here. There we go. Forgot, I put the big covers up there, don't I? Yeah, so Battlefield, very cool. This is a super deluxe 2-disc set. Very nice indeed. Haven't shown you the insides for a while, have I? Well, you're not missing much. There's really not much to look at in there other than there's discs in there, and all the cover art's pretty much the same. Yeah, so Battlefield, in which further layers to the mystery of the Doctor are introduced, in which we ask the question, is the Doctor actually Merlin? I kid you not. This question is raised in this story. Is the Doctor Merlin? Well, maybe. The thing that's interesting about it is even the Doctor isn't sure. He's thinking, well, I might be Merlin. I don't know. I haven't gone back there, so possibly. So that's one of the big mysteries of this. Is the Doctor Merlin? And if so, what are the circumstances there? It'd be really interesting to see the story that leads into that, actually. I'm kind of hoping that they maybe will revisit this story at some point in the new series and show how the Doctor, because at one point he meets a knight who recognizes him as Merlin, and he says, "Really, you recognize me?" And he says, "Well, not your face, but your aspect," which I thought was really interesting. So that suggests to me, that leaves it wide open. Like, come on, New Who, do this story. But that leaves it wide open, that it suggests that it's a future incarnation of the Doctor that this knight is familiar with. And it connects back to this story, which I think is a perfect way to tie in the new series with the old series. I mean, they already do. They already tie it in pretty nicely, I have to say. But that would be a great direct connection, like actually having a follow-up story to this. I mean, bring Ben Aronovich back. Have him write it. Do it! Come on, New Who. Seriously, I would love to see that. But anyway, Battlefield, another one that I had not watched for a very, very long time, probably since it originally aired, so I remembered very little about it. And what a fun story. Like, I just had an absolute blast with it. You got the Brigadier back, you've got, you got more mystery with the Doctor, you got, and you get Bessie. Bessie is in this. It's a slightly remodeled Bessie, but still, it's Bessie. We haven't seen Bessie in a million years. Well, since season 20, when the third Doctor was driving Bessie. That's the last time we saw Bessie. So great to see Bessie back. Yeah, so a lot of fun. It almost feels like a story that could have been part of the 25th anniversary because of all the references to the past again. But for whatever reason it wasn't. But anyway, great fun. Definitely recommend Battlefield. I should mention also here in Region 1 land, this is one of the ones that's out of print. I actually had to pay about $50 to get this one because it's out of print, and $50 is actually cheap for that one now. I've seen it go for as much as $200 or $300 just because it's out of print. Thanks, scalpers. I hate scalpers. So anyway, it came up on Amazon, brand new, factory sealed for $50. I was like, okay, that's probably the cheapest I'm ever going to see it again unless they bring it back into print. So I grabbed it, and it was actually the last of the out of print ones that I needed. So there you go. Cool stuff. Alrighty, so carrying on, another one that's out of print. Actually, most of this season is out of print, to be honest. I happened to snag this one early on when I started rebuilding the DVD collection because this happens to be one of my favorite stories from the last season. One that fans are a little bit mixed on, but I've always really liked it. We have this is story 156, I forgot to mention, and this is story number 157, Ghost Light, which is a very trippy, surreal three-parter. Great stuff. This is another example of the Doctor dragging Ace kicking and screaming to confront her fears and her past. And some pretty cool stuff there indeed. Now, one thing I should mention, this was a three-part story, which really should have been a four-part story. Also worthy of note, this is actually the last story that they filmed that season. Even though it chronologically occurs as the second story, it's the last one that they filmed. So this is actually the last Doctor Who of the classic series that was ever committed to tape. So that's it. That's where it ends on the production side of things. But really cool. I mean, also, again, this one definitely has the Dark Doctor in it, big time. This is one of the darkest stories of the Seventh Doctor's era. And there's a lot of just sheer terror in there, and it's just wonderful, wonderful stuff. One thing I definitely recommend if you can get your hands on it is the novel of Ghost Light. Ghost Light was written by Mark Platt, who essentially was a Doctor Who fan who got the opportunity to write an actual show. And boy, what a good one too. I mean, I really like this one a lot, and I've rewatched it I don't know how many times, and I just find more in it every time I watch it. Really, really good stuff. Now, he also wrote the novelization, and I definitely recommend reading the novelization, because if you were at all confused by the televised version, the novelization sheds a lot of light on a lot of light, get it? Yes. On different aspects of the story that perhaps were not made as clear in the three-part, televised version. And they had to convey a lot of it. It's a very complicated idea with some pretty trippy stuff in it, and it's hard to convey all that in only 3 episodes. I mean, they obviously had to cram a lot in there. And production-wise, it looks beautiful. It's set in this old Victorian mansion, and just basically good old-fashioned haunted house story, but with some alien undertones. Very cool stuff. And a lot of things to say about evolution, because it's set in the era when Darwinism was just kind of picking up steam and whatnot. So pretty cool ideas in there. I really like that one a lot. And it is out of print, so good luck finding it if you're in Region 1 land. All right, next up, another one that's out of print. This is largely considered by fans to be one of the high points of the Seventh Doctor's era, one of his best stories, and I definitely tend to agree. This is yet another one where the Doctor is basically being mean to Ace again and making her confront horrible things from her past. We have story number 158, The Curse of Fenric. This is great, great stuff. Now, this one definitely got the deluxe treatment that it deserves. This is what Silver Nemesis should have got. We got a 2-disc set. This contains 2 versions of the story. This contains the original televised version and the extended version, which was released on VHS many moons ago. I used to have that VHS, actually. And for a long time, the extended version was the only version I had seen. I think I actually completely missed this one when it was on television. I missed a good chunk of the last season when it was originally on. I missed The Curse of Fenric. I think I saw all of Battlefield and all of Ghostlight. For some reason, I missed The Curse of Fenric, which, of course, was the one everybody was talking about afterwards, which is kind of annoying. And then I saw the last story as well. But The Curse of Fenric takes place in World War II, where the Doctor meets up with an ancient evil that he has fought before. And the interesting thing about this is we see this a lot in the new series, but this was the first time it had really been done in the old series, was there are connections in this story to things going as far back as 2 seasons prior. So that's pretty cool. So there were seeds planted that early on leading up to this. Or I kind of get the impression it was retconned to fit, but still it's cool to see that all kind of brought together. Very, very cool stuff indeed. So it's written by Ian Briggs. I just wanted to check something here. Ian Briggs. Yes, actually that connection may very well have been deliberate, because the writer of this, Ian Briggs, wrote one of the season 24 stories that connects to it. So maybe it was intentional. Maybe he did have a grand plan. Who knows? But anyway, The Curse of Fenric is a really, really good story. You've got World War II, you got Germans, you got vampires, you got an ancient evil, you got a lot of a lot of things to do with chess, which I've always really liked in fiction, when 2 adversaries play chess. It's like they're having that battle of wits, trying to out-strategize each other and such. And chess figures very heavily into this. I remember one of my other all-time favorite TV shows, The Prisoner, featured chess quite heavily throughout, because a lot of it was about the main character trying to outwit his captors. So that was a nice kind of parallel to that. And we see that in this particular Doctor Who story as well. It's really, really cool. So I definitely recommend The Curse of Fenric. It's a fantastic story, and another stellar example of the darker side of the Seventh Doctor, while again helping to further establish more mystery to the character. There have been a lot of additional mystery added to the character over the course of this and the previous season, and as I say, I really like the direction that they were going with this. And it's a shame that this was the final season. So, last but most certainly not least, we have the last story of the classic series, story number 159, Survival, 3-part story. A lot of fans consider this one of the weaker entries of this season, but still, I mean, it's still pretty strong as far as, peril and whatnot. We get to see the Master one last time, played by Anthony Ainley. He would appear one more time in a Doctor Who CD-ROM game, which the name of which escapes me, Dimensions of the Doctor or something like that. Anyway, it was a CD-ROM game where he played the Master, and he was your primary adversary in that, and that was his final on-screen appearance as the Master. This was his final appearance as the Master in the TV series, so we get a pretty intense final confrontation between the Doctor and the Master. So pretty cool stuff. I actually haven't watched this one again in quite some time, so I'm a little bit fuzzy on it. But one thing that's cool about this is even though it's only a 3-part story, it is a 2-disc set. and they have quite a pile of extras here. One of the things they have is basically a big documentary called Endgame, which is all about why the series was canceled and what they had planned for season 27 if it had gone on. At the time, since Peter Davison's era, the BBC had deemed that 3 years was the optimal length for any actor's tenure as the Doctor, and then after 3 years they would change doctors just to sort of keep things fresh. Further adding to how Colin Baker got shafted, he got his 3 years, sort of. He was in 2 seasons, but the BBC decided that the 18-month hiatus should be included in the 3-year tenure. Yeah, what kind of BS is that? Seriously. That's from John Nathan Turner's memoirs, by the way, where he gives a very frank and honest account of all the crap he had to put up with as producer of the show, and that the BBC put him through and such. And one of them that he talks about is that Colin Baker's tenure was cut short because of the hiatus, and that the hiatus period, 18-month hiatus, should be considered year 2 of the 3 years. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? That's ridiculous. But that said, here we have Sylvester McCoy. So we get to the end of Survival, and I'm wondering, are we about to have a regeneration? Like, what's going on? And then the Doctor and Ace walk off into the distance. Apparently, critical response and fan response have been so positive that Sylvester McCoy had been asked to stay on for a 4th year. So that would have been awesome. We would have got a 4th year with the 7th Doctor. But it never came back. Season 26 ended, 1989 ended, 1990, 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995, all came and went. And then finally, in 1996, it seemed the wait was over. We were getting a movie, a TV movie, but a movie with a new Doctor. But we'll talk about that next time. Yes. But this marks the end of the classic series. That is it. So if you have been collecting them as you go through these disambiguation videos, you're done now. You have it all. That is everything that exists for the classic series. Couple of brief addendums I guess I should mention. Sorry, I'll just move the Tomorrow people out of the way here. Since doing the earlier disambiguations, they found The Enemy of the World and The Web of Fear, stories 40 and 41. So you can add those to your collection if you haven't already. I did do a video just about those. And we're finally getting story number 32, The Underwater Menace, with the 2 existing episodes, the second episode of which was found in 2011. Yes, it's taken them this long to get it out on DVD. And the 2 missing episodes, episodes 1 and 4, will basically just be photo reconstructions with the original audio. They were going to be animated, but apparently the deal with the animation company fell through. They wanted too much money. The BBC didn't want to pay it, so they're just doing photo reconstructions. But hey, at least we get it in some form. And no word on a Region 1 release yet. So far it's Region 2 only, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time before it makes its way over here. So support that release in the hopes that the BBC will do more releases of incomplete stories completed in some form for us. So, yeah. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there as a little addendum. Got one more addendum, actually, that I filmed a few weeks ago and forgot to put up. But I figured I might as well wait until we get to the end. So that addendum will probably be posted, maybe later today. I'll put it up later today. Why not? We'll do 2 today. A double whammy, timey-wimey Tuesday. Alrighty. That is it for the classic series. Now, some of you may be wondering, what am I going to be doing after having done these disambiguations? Well, there's one more to go, where we talk about the movie, and we're going to touch on what they call the wilderness years, which are basically the years of, is the show ever coming back? The 17-year stretch between the end of the classic series and the beginning of the current series. So we'll talk about that a little bit and some of the various productions and related productions that came out there. Won't talk about it too much because it is the DVD disambiguation, and not a lot of those are available on DVD, and also they're not official. So, but we'll touch on them a little bit. I mean, I would be remiss not to at least mention them, right? Alrighty. That is it from me to you for now. So bidding a fond farewell to the classic era of Doctor Who. 26 seasons. How freaking awesome is that? 159 stories. Wow. That's amazing. That is an amazing run for any show. And it's still going. It's still going. After a long pause, it's back and it's still going, and it's more popular than ever. So it's no longer just for us geeks and nerds living in our parents' basements. Mind you, I haven't lived in my parents' basement since I was 17. So, yeah. Alrighty, that is it from me to you for now. Again. So I'd just like to say a quick thank you to my Patreon sponsors. So thank you, Patreon sponsors. You guys and gals are awesome. Big extra special super duper thanks to my two highest level sponsors, Kyle Pellegrini and Get Your Gorgeous On, the e-mag run by Michelle O'Toole and Simon Hedger. Really appreciate the support, guys. Thank you very much. Please do consider becoming a Patreon sponsor, because it just means I can do more stuff like this more often for your enjoyment. Alrighty, that is it from me to you for now. Again. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.